This game is called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and if you don't believe me, well, you can look up here where the title is very, very small. The subtitle is much bigger, a gemstone mining game. Very unusual, very odd to have the title printed smaller than the subtitle on the cover, and this is far from the only oddity in this game. In fact, the strangest thing in the game is the fact that from what you see here, you think this must be a cute little game for the young ones, for children, which may be, in fact, if you want your children to cry and rage quit. In truth, it is an extremely confrontational, take that in your face, backstabbing game. In fact, there was a story about the Seven Dwarfs based on the mechanics of this game that probably would be called Seven Dwarfs, the Slasher Movie Edition. This is how intense the game is. Now, I hope that you were intrigued enough by this introduction, so without further ado, let's take a closer look at the game. The game lasts 5 rounds, each representing a day of hard work in the mine for the dwarves. You place this board with the turn track in the middle of the table where everybody can see it. Then you have this deck of Snow White cards, things that she will like to receive as a little present today. At the beginning of each day, you flip one of these cards face up and you place it in that area of the board. That indicates a special set of gems that will score some extra points. In this case, the first player to exit the mine with 2 orange gems and a purple one will score 4 points. Each player then also has this card here, face up, they have a copy of this card, and then they have a cart and a token representing that dwarf. The cart is used both as a player aid to remind you of how much things are worth in terms of victory points, and also you use it to hold your gems. Now, what else do we have? We have cards. Each player will use a hand of cards. These cards are very powerful and they allow you to further your position directly by getting extra stones, or they allow you to really annoy the heck out of other players by stealing gems or getting them stuck with bad gems. They're really confrontational effects. There are also some other cards that are called reaction cards. These can be played out of turn. You can integrate them with the deck, shuffling them together. They make the game even more confrontational, even meaner, even more in your face than it already is. Even the rules say that you don't necessarily have to use them, especially if you're playing with kids. They will already cry enough as is. They don't have debate about the crying, but I think they're aware that that's a possibility. The game is confrontational, and if your kids are not strong, they may be very annoyed by some of the interactions that you will see. Now, then we have the centerpiece, this bag full of gems. Well, they're not really gems, but they look still pretty cute. And this is the bag the players will use to draw without looking. You may wanna, if you're the only adult playing, you may wanna hold the bag, because kids, they just, maybe don't even mean it, but they just can't resist to give a little bit of a peek to what's in the bag. Now, during your turn, you have to take one of the following actions, and you can only take one. You may play a card from your hand and simply resolve what it says, and that's the only thing that you can do. Or you can draw a gem from the bag and put it on your card, and that ends your turn. The bag goes to the next player that takes an action, and then the bag goes back to you, and suppose I want to get another gem, and then the game goes back to me and I get another gem, and so on and so forth. These are all good gems, but from time to time you may draw an obsidian. Obsidian is undesirable. If you only have one obsidian in your card, that is fine, but then you're really starting to push your luck, because if you ever draw a second obsidian, then you take all of your gems, you dump them back in the bag, and you don't score anything for the present round. Also, you are kicked out of the mine. You take your token, but you put it like this on the dark side, then you put it on the first available spot on that track, the leftmost available spot. The other action you can take when things start getting a little complicated or dangerous is you can leave the mine. In which case you simply take your token and you still put it on the leftmost available space, but this time with the colorful side face up, and you gain the corresponding advantage. For example, you always gain a card that immediately goes into your hand, but if you are brave enough to be in the mine for a long time, then you also get points, like 2 points or 3 points, and so on and so forth. Remember, as you exit the mine, if you're the first player to exit the mine with the right combination, you also get to score those extra points that Snow White is willing to grant. Once the day is over, because all players have left the mine, whether they wanted it or they're being kicked out by excessive obsidian consumption, it is time to score points. Basically, you will sell your gems for victory points, and you will use these tokens here to represent your victory points. The gems. Individually, the gems have the values that you see here. The topaz is worth 1 point. The ruby is very rare, is worth 6. The amethyst is worth 2, and so on and so forth. But something interesting... oh, the diamond. Everybody loves diamonds. Something interesting is about the combos that you can have. If you have 3 gems of a color, then you can trade one other type of gem for twice the value. So I have 3 of those gems that will give me a point each as normal. But if I trade them together with this ruby, now this ruby is worth 12. That means actually if I have 2 rubies, now each ruby, because it was sold with that combination, is worth 12. If I have 4 of a kind, then I can sell 2 types of other gems at twice the value. In this case, for example, these are still worth 12 each, and this one is worth 8. So there's that interesting combo there. If you are selling 5 different colors, so stones of 5 different colors, you score 8 extra points. If you have 6 different colors, you score 12 extra points. Also, a couple of other details. If you were kicked out of the mine because you had too much obsidian, you don't get to score anything, which is very painful, but at least you get this token, you gain some experience, maybe you know how to avoid obsidian now. In a later turn, when you receive obsidian, you can discard the token to put the obsidian back into the bag. Now the thing is, that card that you saw at the beginning, at the end of a turn, maybe you almost have a great combo, but not quite. Then at the end of a turn, you do not have to trade all of your gems for points. You can also save 2 of them. Suppose, for example, that there is a round in which I had those 2 rubies, and this is my situation. I don't have a combo, really would like to double them, then I'm gonna save my rubies there. There are 2 gems that you can save from turn to turn. I only scored these right now, but these I save for later, hoping that they will be part of a more profitable combo. At the end of the game, also you get to trade your remaining cards. You also get a card at the end of the game by default, at the end of the turn by default. You also get to trade remaining experience tokens for victory points. And at that point, when you collect all of the points that come from all possible sources, the dwarf with the most points is the winner of the game. So the first time I played the game, I played it with my 2 daughters that are 6 and 8, and we almost had 2 cases of rage quit, because after my daughters kept playing cards to steal obsidian, to steal good gems from each other, to get each other stuck with obsidian, to force an opponent to be kicked out of the game because of obsidian, which you can do when you play the card called like Give Me a Hand, in which you choose an opponent, the opponent draws 2 stones, and you, the player, choose one and you take it, and the other player has to take that one. If the player already has an obsidian, and they draw an obsidian, you'll give them that obsidian, and they're kicked out of the round. It's very mean. It's very mean. Even if I were playing with adults, I'd be like, this is annoying. Imagine kids whose emotions are very strong. This being said, I would say once we realized that, the second time that we played the game, they knew what to expect. I had this long speech about a game is a game. We do it for fun. Don't take it personally, it's purely business, etc, etc. It really worked, actually it really worked. And then we played it with other kids, with family friends, and I warned them this time from the first time. I knew what to expect, and it worked. But definitely it's not the kind of game that you expect to be marketed for children. because it is so confrontational, because it is purposefully kicking a player out of the turn. Not out of the game, luckily enough, there is an indirect exclusion, so everybody's engaged most of the time. Yeah, you may have an accident, you're kicked out of the mine, everybody else is still playing, but maybe for a minute or two. So what we have here, to me, is a game that I think will work very well in my adult game nights. I'm definitely gonna put it on the table one of these game nights, because I think it really works well with adults. Then, of course, we have the stamina, the emotional stamina to deal with this constant confrontation. I just this time had to warn my friends, look, this is not a kid's game that I took out by mistake. It is a game that I think we're gonna enjoy, because in fact, as a game, is very enjoyable. It has a push or luck. It has a combination of push or luck and set collection mechanics that really work well in their extreme simplicity and linearity. I draw a gem, and then I decide if I want to draw another gem next turn or not, or maybe want to play a card or leave the mine. So just so simple, just so linear, and yet a lot of interesting moments. Again, not so many different decisions, because there are 3 possible actions, but those decisions, well, taking them, it's pretty fun, and it is pretty exciting. Maybe this turn you got an obsidian, the first gem that you took. In a certain sense, I would say it's almost liberating, because you're like, well, why should I not go? If I'm leaving now, I'm gonna get 0 anyway, so I may as well just try. Maybe you got a single gem that is worth 1 point and an obsidian, you're gonna go in. Now maybe you have 5 points in gems and an obsidian, that is a little tough. You have a ton of points, I don't think I want to risk it. Because remember, and it may seem like autopilot, if I don't have any obsidian, I may as well just go, because, you know, in any case, if I don't get an obsidian, then next turn I'm gonna leave. But remember, there is that card that will give you an extra obsidian. They give me a hand card, will give you an extra obsidian. So when you have an obsidian and it's not your turn before the game goes back to you, there is a chance that someone else may still kick you out. So the only time in which you're 100% safe is when you don't have any obsidian. Or is it? Because then multiple players may decide to gang up against you. So in truth, it seems such a simple idea, but because of the interaction with the cards, you're never really quite safe. There are situations that are safer than others. There's a nice, interesting element of tension there. And again, it's about playing the right cards at the right moment. There's even a diplomatic element. Hey, why don't I play that card against that person and you play that card against that person? And again, if that person is a 6-year-old, they are going to start crying, don't worry. There's no doubt about that. But there is that possibility. The game even allows for the possibility of diplomacy, of negotiation, etc., etc., etc. An absolute surprise. Yes, I picked up the game because I thought it could be a fun little cute game to play with my little daughters. It turned out that after a little bit of emotional turmoil, the daughters have started enjoying it. I definitely enjoyed it from the beginning, although I also had to like recenter, recalibrate my expectations. It's not what you expect, and this is what concerns me a little bit. I think there are people that will see the cover, will order it on Amazon, and then their children will cry on Christmas morning. And then the people that would really enjoy it, adult groups that may enjoy a simple but pretty fun push your luck game, I think they may overlook it because they may think, this is probably not for my group. It doesn't have an illustration about, I don't know, ancient Egypt or trading in the Renaissance or the age of steam or building railroads, all those things that you expect on games these days, and so those people that may enjoy it may overlook the game. So I hope that my video will help clarify some of the possible misunderstandings here. I think that the game is a little bit mislabeled / mispackaged because it looks it's for one group of people, but it really is not. Other than that, Snow White and the 7 Dwarves. It's a mean game. It's a mean game, but definitely a very fun one.